Hello. Thank you for coming. Anybody who's here live. So hopefully I am now broadcasting on both LinkedIn and Facebook simultaneously. This is quite a daring step for me, so I'm using new technology to be able to do both at the same time. So it's very exciting for me. So anybody who is here, it'd be great if you can, write a chat in the comments. A note in the comments. Hopefully, again, this is new technology. Hopefully, I will be able to pick up your comments from both platforms all together on this software, on this technology. So so I'm really excited about being able to talk to you today about the daring mindset. Anybody who's watching this on replay as well, please drop in some comments, any of your thoughts, and just press replay, just put hashtag replay on as well. If you have any questions as we go, then please put them in the comments, and it'd be really helpful if you could write a question on it as well, so just so I can sort of pick it up as you go. And all being well, if I get any questions, I may be able to highlight them on the screen so that kind of everybody will be able to see them. So I will get going. So it is a real privilege and a joy to be able to, be on these platforms and actually talk to you about the daring mindset. This is something that's really close to my heart, and it's definitely something I've lived probably for my whole life, really, but certainly has come very much to the fore in particularly last year, as I've completely changed my career and set up my new coaching business. So that's taken quite a bit of daring at times. So I wanted to kind of, just give you an overview really of what is the daring mindset? How does it work? And I'm just going to actually check on the different platforms to see if it's working. Yep, it's saying it's live now on Facebook, and hopefully it's also live on LinkedIn. It's a little bit difficult to say, but if you're there, just drop in a note to. It's not saying it's live on LinkedIn, but we'll see. Yes, it is. So I am now live on LinkedIn as well. So great. Anybody that's here, just join the conversation. So coming back then to what is the daring mindset? Now, hopefully on the various posts that I've sent out, you will have seen the kind of, I guess, what I call the egg, the sort of series of layers of stages of mindset that we go through, on our way or not to a growth mindset and to changing our lives. So the daring mindset is a model that I've come up with that I suppose it serves two main purposes, really. One is that it describes kind of a powerful guided process to help us move from our comfort zone, through that stretch zone, through that doubting zone, and into daring and then into growth. And kind of the reason I came up with this model was because there is such a huge amount of untapped potential within ourselves and within our workplaces. And part of that is because we don't, we have ideas, but we for whatever reason we're not able to take them through to achieve the success that we want. So that's partly why I came up with this model, really, to describe how we can do that. So this is a powerful guided process. And at the same time, it describes sort of powerful states of being. And all of these actually are states of being, powerful states of being. The daring mindset obviously is an intensely powerful way to be and way to, get us to where we want to be. But also the doubting mindset, again, can be incredibly powerful and can have a massive influence on us. So it is designed to sort of highlight those states of being that we go through, when we try to move out of our comfort zones. So I guess the first thing really I wanted to talk about is kind of what is daring. And it's a very personal thing, and it's different, completely different for individual people. So, sometimes when we think about daring, we think of, big acts of physical courage. I don't know, jumping out of a plane or something like that. Or we think of, big acts of perhaps emotional courage. That might be, being a whistleblower at work. Oh, hi Jess, lovely for you to join us. Really lovely to have you here. And it shows that the comments are working. Fabulous, and you're on Facebook. So yes, I was just talking about how what daring means to us, and we do think about those great big things. But one of my favourite definitions of daring is that it's to be kind of bold, adventurous, and a little nervy, and that's what I quite like. I think of it as a state of sort of exhilaration, which is excitement and terror for me in my book. But being daring is so personal, and there isn't a sliding scale of how daring something is, an objective scale. Because for some people, getting out of bed in the mornings could be daring. If you've suffered from depression or had an illness, I burnt out a couple of years ago. And so, it may feel really daring just to get out of bed, just to show up, just to meet up with friends for the first time after a COVID lockdown. So it's intensely personal. And for anybody here, anybody watching on replay, it would be great if you took a moment to think about what daring means to you. And if you want to, put it in the comments. It'd be great to sort of see what makes other people feel daring. So, having thought about that, and having thought about kind of what daring is for me, and it's many different things in many different circumstances, I sort of thought in more detail about so why do we need it? So the daring mindset sounds great, but kind of if it were that easy, everybody would be doing it. We'd all be setting our New Year's resolutions and achieving them. We'd be setting our goals. We'd achieve them. We'd be dreaming big and creating what we want. But for a lot of us, that doesn't happen. And that was the case for me. So I thought about, okay, why do we need a daring mindset? And actually, the concept came to me sort of quite organically. Oh, Jess, your own scale of daring changes from month to month. And it gives you those nervous but excited butterflies. And very much daring is contextual. Sometimes for me, daring is a great big act. And at other times, simply just showing up on social media feels like the biggest challenge. So I think that's the thing also is coming from a completely non-judgmental place. Because sometimes we can think that, I did this last month or last week and it wasn't a problem. Why is it challenging now? And there can be many things that contribute to that. But thanks, Jess. That's really it's a really interesting sort of perspective there. So for me, the daring mindset partly came about because I was not where I wanted to be. I wasn't making the progress I wanted. I had ideas, I had goals, but I was really struggling to make that connection, to make that step, to actually putting them into progress. And I struggled with the terminology of goal or target because I think I've spent most of my career in roles which were very, very heavily driven by targets. So I think now when I hear a target, I retreat. And it was in a chance conversation with a friend that I suddenly said, why don't we dare ourselves? And that kind of resonated with me. It resonated with kind of my rebellious, slightly mischievous side. So it feels like being daring is being a little bit naughty, being a little bit kind of, rebellious outside the status quo. And it resonated. And from there, I then sort of, really built upon the concept and thought about, okay, what does that mean? What can it do? How can it help? How can it be that state of being and a process. So if you think about, let's posit a scenario. You're there in your comfort zone, perhaps comfortably, perhaps not, but you're in your comfort zone, and you have an idea or a dream or a wish or a vision, something that comes to you that just lights you up. You get excited about it. You think, the possibilities. And you think, great, I'm going to do that. I can see how that will be fantastic for me in my future. But what happens is when we sort of think about going outside our comfort zone, what we're basically proposing to ourselves is change, and sometimes quite big change. And that can trigger off kind of a whole sort of cascade of subconscious impacts of beliefs and behaviors and actions. And it happens again subconsciously, because as kind of humans, as mammals effectively, we are primed by years of evolution to kind of see change as the unknown, and as the unknown as inherently dangerous. So your subconscious, your kind of reptile brain, is seeing this great change that you're excited about, and is kind of, sounding the alarm, because it sees you're heading into danger. And so what then happens again is it activates this kind of cascade of fear, and also a whole load of things going on under the surface. And that's the real challenge, is that often we're not aware of what's happening in our subconscious. And so we'll come up with, we'll start to feel overwhelmed. We'll start to doubt whether it's such a good idea. Perhaps it doesn't gel with what we think of our identity. Perhaps, people like me don't do this, or this is not something I'm capable of. It's not something I believe I can do. And so we have those kind of thoughts and beliefs churning away under the surface. And many of these have come from our childhood, so may not be even relevant anymore. And what that can then do is trigger, again, pretty much subconscious behaviors. So we might start to procrastinate. We'll potentially self-sabotage in another way. We'll distract. We might create drama in our lives. And what that does is it's our subconscious basically trying to sort of shepherd us back into our comfort zone, into that safety. And what can often happen, and it's happened to me many times, is I kind of retreat back into my comfort zone and sort of conveniently forget that I had the idea. And I mean, I don't know if you've done this, but I've had, I've got oh, hi, Mike. Lovely to see you. You're on Facebook as well. Great. So, what I was saying is, when we have ideas, but then sort of go through this cascade of doubt, we then go back into our comfort zone. And what I was saying was that, I have a book, I have my various places where I keep ideas. And I sort of flick through that every now and then and find some great idea that, really lit me up when I thought of it. But I'd completely forgotten I'd ever had it. I'm reading it kind of going, wow, who came up with that? So I think that, that is such a challenge. So that's part of the reason I came up with the daring mindset, is to be able to kind of traverse that doubting space, because, it is perfectly natural, it's perfectly human, and it's our subconscious trying to keep us safe. So, conveniently forgotten, definitely done that, absolutely. And it's such a shame, because I sort of think, but what I start to then do is kind of think, oh well, my ideas never go anywhere, and so there's almost no point having ideas. I said, well, I'm the reason my ideas don't go anywhere. So, the first, I suppose, the fundamental part of the daring mindset is knowing that we have the power. We do have the power to change our own lives. we just need sometimes some help to help us do that. So again, thinking about the daring mindset, the main thing that helps us do, or the first principle of it, I suppose, is becoming aware. It raises our awareness of what is going on for us under the surface. And the more we can do that, the more we can start to, talk about some of the fears, some of the things that are coming up. Either we, talk them through with ourselves or with trusted friends or with coaches and mentors. And we can start to kind of sort of challenge them in a positive way and just see, are they true? They may not be. Some of those what if scenarios can be pretty dramatic. And also, if they are true, actually, I could do something about those. So the more we start to kind of surface what's going on, the more we can then take kind of positive, aligned actions. We can change the way we think, and we can really connect with that, with that positive dream, with that goal, that dare that we want to achieve. And without all of that kind of mental noise and chatter, we can turn the volume down on that and start to get really familiar with what it is we want to do. And we get, I call it getting fanatical about our dreams. And so what that does is it's the more we think about it, the more familiar it starts to become, which then kind of brings our subconscious on board, because it starts to feel familiar, it starts to feel less dangerous. And actually some of those doubts, that overwhelm, that can release, which then allows us to take that big step, that big leap of faith into our growth zone. And that is where the magic happens. That's where we create that transformation, that lasting change. We then come up with more innovation and kind of we start the circle again. That becomes our new comfort zone and we can grow on from there. So that's kind of the whole process brought together. But again, if it were that easy, we would all be doing it. So what I then wanted to look at was what daring means in more detail. How do we get there? What are those states of being? What are the key elements that help us create that daring mindset? And essentially, I created an acronym. I sort of took daring and created that again into states of being and a process. So I will go through in sort of fairly high level detail, because I could talk about this for days and you probably don't want me to do that. So I'll go through sort of the highlights of daring. And each letter, there are many elements and dimensions to each letter, but I'll go through the absolute core ones. So D, D for daring. What is it? And for me, the biggest, the most elemental part of that is difference. It's thinking differently about ourselves, about ideas, about the world. And that can take tremendous courage to think differently, to express different views. As human beings, we want to fit in. That is our, our sort of social evolution, is to fit in. So to think differently is incredibly daring. But we also think differently about ourselves. And I think the other side to that then is acting differently. So, and this is something I've had to face myself quite recently, because again, I found I wasn't making progress in things that I really wanted to do. So I had a bit of a, full and frank discussion with myself. And what came up for me again was, okay, what am I going to do differently? How am I going to think differently? And that's been incredibly powerful. So I'm now taking different actions, such as going live on LinkedIn and Facebook at the same time. Now, the second, so, once we're allowing and we're opening the door to thinking differently, that's going to potentially set off that cascade, within our subconscious of that doubt. So the A of daring is awareness. It is being really, really aware in a gentle way, in a open and friendly way of all the things that are going on for us, because then we can work through them. We can address them. We can become sort of aware of where we're feeling anxious and know that that's okay because we're making big changes. But we can also become aware of our achievements and actually how completely awesome we are, because in doing that we then sort of gain some evidence that, do you know what, I can do this because I've been completely awesome in the past. And that's then really powerful for us to do. So once we can do that, once we gain that awareness, that is a big thing that helps us then dial down that noise, that fear and that doubt, which opens the door to the R of daring, which is reimagining. Because we can then feel safe in reimagining a different life for ourselves, a different way of being, a different way of acting. And it also enables us to kind of play with different scenarios, experiment, because we can do it in a way that's sort of things that we could do, but we're not committing ourselves to doing. And so in that, we can reimagine all sorts of things. We can reimagine our careers, our relationships, within an organisation, our teams, and how we do things. And in doing that, that then opens the door to so much possibility. And we can start to see, we can connect with our potential as well. And start to see, gosh, how much difference could we make in the world? And certainly for me, that is a big part for me, is actually going further, imagining further and bigger than I ever have before, which occasionally does make me, retreat into my comfort zone. But it is such a powerful thing, and it's such an energizing thing to be able to do. So once we've reimagined, we can then move on to the I of daring, which is, it is the implementation of those innovations. New actions, new initiatives, we can put those into practice, which then is completely inspirational, because what it then enables us to do is take steps towards that future. And the more actions we take, the more positive steps we make, the more it feels possible, the more it feels familiar, and the more we can step forwards with confidence into growth. Now, as I've described, this is a tremendously courageous process. It's a very daring process, and it takes energy. So in the N of daring, it's really important to nurture ourselves. It really is important to take a time out to acknowledge the massive steps that we're making, and not just to truck on through the uncertainty, actually to take that time, talk again with that trusted friend, partner, coach, whoever, mentor, and do whatever we need to do just to kind of re-energize, to feel comfortable, so we can then step forwards, with more power. And then finally, what I think is like the superpower, the secret source of anything we do, which is gratitude, the G of daring. And it's being grateful for what we have right now. It's being grateful for the process, for the learning, even for highlighting some of the doubts, because it means we can deal with them. And then also being grateful for every step along the way and every bit of progress that we make. So that is the daring mindset. Now, I will, in the next stream, I'm going to go through in more detail about how we can create that daring mindset. Because as always, if it were that easy, we would be doing it. And I have a 6-step process by which, which takes you through the steps to be able to create a daring mindset. And so I'll share that in the next live. In the meantime, if you want to know anything more about the daring mindset, really do please drop me a line, either write "tell me more" in the comments, or send me a DM. And it's not too late to subscribe to my email newsletter, and I will put a link in the comments. In fact, I can do that just now, I hope. Oh no, okay. It says I can't. Post it. I will do it afterwards, and I'll post the comment in the chat. But yeah, to subscribe to my email newsletter for exclusive Daring Mindset content and subscriber-only offers, and you will also get a free download of my ebook, my Daring Mindset ebook, which contains a 30-minute guided practice for you to create your own daring mindset wherever you are. So thank you to everybody who's joined me. Thanks Jess and Mike for joining. Thank you for anybody who's watching this on replay, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Have a lovely afternoon if you're in the US, or evening if you're in the UK. Take care.